Really not much left to do now. Just a handful of little touches before she can be steamed. So what have we got? Well, first of all, these two need going into there. So there'll be a pair of clacks there and there onto this little fitting when I finish it up. So that's the axle pump via the smoke box and the injector. Very unlikely you're going to run both at once anyway, so going in the back there is fine. The hand pump remains in the back head. Which brings us to the cab, where we need a blowdown pipe. Her existing one will be fine, just needs refitting. And a whistle. Whistle? Pressure gauge, of which we have a brand new one, because their old one popped. Trojan's old one popped. We've got a new one for this, subsequently stole it for Trojan. Regulator handle, which I'm making up. Everything else is now fitted. This is an airline adapter, so obviously that needs coming out for hydraulic. But once she's buttoned up, I'll be able to put her on air and make sure it's going in all the right places. Ignore the real train. Yes, so we'll start with that clack fitting. So a nice little bit of light bronze that I've drilled through 6mm, that's the closest size drill I had. I'm waiting for the 7mm to turn up to tap it 5/16/32. Then you've got the threaded part that goes in the boiler. You stick that in the mill and mill out the radius of that and solder them together, then drill through and punch into there. After it's soldered is when I'm going to tap that up. I've had funny things happen to internal threads during soldering, so I'm going to tap it after soldering and then we can assemble it. There we go, 2 clacks in the side. These need now fitting up for their plumbing. A little bit of rebending on that one. Oh, I've just lost the other one down there, but anyway, from there up to there you can see it laying down there. Got to fish it out. Axle pump in that one, injector in that one, but this is a much better place to put them than in the cab, where you can't get these off without removing the door. These are so much easier accessible. We're putting it into the cold end of the boiler rather than in the foundation ring. This one runs off to the injector, this one goes to the axle pump. You may recognise this as the T-piece, the new clack T-piece. So why is it off? Because she passed the hydraulic test yesterday and then tried to steam test her. I don't know if you can see in there what's missing. I never drilled it through. Facepalm. I think it picked up. You can't really see that down there because of the light, but hang on. Yay, drilled through. She passed. Insert quick clip here. But there'll be a better video coming of her running when she's actually finished. So next step then, other than the snags, which we'll talk through, but the cab is the bit I want to get sort of on soonish. Now, because we lowered her by 1/8 of an inch, the reach rod no longer passes through the fun little hole. So I've got to mark it up and file it out a bigger slot before we can even think about drilling and tapping bolt holes for it.
Red. Where's the mummy? Where's mummy?
We are in, unpacked and put away after her 5th steaming and running session, I believe. I might be miscounting, but I think we're at 5 now. So after 5 running sessions, the snags. The cab still isn't on, by the way, as you've just seen Tom driving. That was as I'm recording this one. So snags, the axle pump. So for today, I swapped out. So I put an expansion bottle on the axle pump. So I never liked that hammering, which I know can be done with pipes and ball space. But I was just trying something out, as you do on these locos. That's why I love a Poly loco. I put an expansion bottle on it. Something you see on big commercial water pumps. So why not give it a go? Today I blanked that off, just to try and prove a point. Because with the axle pump on, from a standing start, the axle pump pumps very well. If you put the axle pump close the bypass, on the move, however, it doesn't appear to pump, or if it does, it just about maintains boiler level rather than actually putting water in with any purpose. Now, the axle pump, you may have seen by the new fittings, goes via the smoke box. It wiggles its way up one side, comes across the top, and then disappears down the superheater flue in the spare space, comes back, wiggles its way around, then comes out and into the clack. We pulled onto the siding, cracked undone the connection to the clack for the axle pump, and steam come out rather than water. So I think I've inadvertently made a flash boiler in there, which some axle pumps don't like running unless they're fully primed, because steam compresses, water doesn't. So if there's steam in that plumbing, because it's getting it too hot, it's working too well, then the pump isn't actually pumping water, or it might be doing a little bit, but it's actually just compressing that steam for most part. So it's not really putting water in. So the axle pump, so the feed water heater worked really, really well for making the feed water hot. It's made it too hot and made it into steam. So I'm going to take it, lucky the way I've made it all up is multiple fittings. Yes, multiple sources of leaks, which happened, and I filled the smoke box up because I hadn't actually soldered most of the fittings up. In the same way I hadn't drilled through that T-piece, I hadn't soldered most of the pipe fittings in the smoke box, and I filled up the smoke box with water, and it was coming out the top like fountains every time she exhausted. And I've never had to siphon out a smoke box before, but I did last week before. So I'm going to take out the loop that goes down the superheater flue and just connect the pipes, the wibbly wobbly ones that are just in the smoke box. Yes, so that will probably take out most of the heat, but that'll prove a point. If the axle pump then works, it's because it was indeed getting too hot. If it puts water in, we can then try a shorter loop down the superheater. For a point of reference, there's currently 5 feet of pipe between entry and exit of the smoke box. It's getting very, very hot. Lubricator needs increasing in pumps. One of the Poly lubricators, almost infinitely adjustable. I love them. I just need to turn that one up a little bit. The card in the pressure gauge moves, so it reads 30 when it's 0 and it blows off at 120. The card just needs moving back. That's fine. I've just got to get the front off carefully. The injector wants a pickle, the tank wants a flush out, and that's before we get to touching up the paint. But she's running, she's passenger hauled for a few weeks now with these niggles, and I've put a big brick arch bashing it back to Tom. Thanks to Tom for welding that together for me. And we'll see what else we do. We may not be doing Poly next, we might be doing something else next. Something else passed its hydraulic today. Watch to find out.